How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on ES. I took a short. It was a pretty quick, easy trade, minimal drawdown. Wasn't the biggest trade, so we'll go over why I took what I took, my risk, my reward, what I learned from it, what I could do better next time, and yeah, it shouldn't be too much because it's just one and done today. So let's take a look. Coming into the day, both ES and NQ appeared to maybe be setting up for some sort of bullish move. We had a down trending day yesterday on both ES and NQ. We see that we are within the previous day's range. You can see the previous day high here, previous day low here. And then we had the pre-market low and the pre-market high. So really what I was watching coming into the day, and I was primarily watching NQ, was to see if we could hold this level and then get a break and close above that pre-market high and maybe continue this bounce. Now that we've seemed to form like this bottom, maybe we can get some continuation. Similar idea on ES. I didn't like ES as much, but you know, maybe a potential for like a bull flag here and like a breakout high was my thought coming into the day. As soon as the morning opens, NQ was a little bit weaker than ES, but NQ dropped pretty hard, rejected off that pre-market high pretty much immediately all the way down to the previous day low. With that weakness, and I was watching ES kind of struggling, holding between this like 6,293 and the pre-market high, just kind of struggling in this area. And then on the 15-minute, first 15-minute candle of the day, we get that close weak. We break below that level of support. We also get it on the 2-minute and the 5-minute. And on the 2-minute, we're breaking and closing below these EMAs as well. Then we start to retest this level and we fail to reclaim it at all, at which point I took a short. Now my reasoning for this is that NQ is already leading the way. NQ is dropping pretty heavily, not looking like it was going to turn around. It was more weak than ES was. And I think there's actually a better setup on NQ than ES, and we'll go over that in a second. But I was watching the weakness of NQ, and then I was watching ES holding up a little bit relatively to it. But then it broke its only support. So if we pull back on ES on the 15-minute, if we're looking at this from like recent price action, we have this level of support here, which we just closed below. And there's nothing really stopping us down until this next level. And you see how price action has responded, right? We come right back down. So that was kind of the idea, as well as we had the EMAs, and I was looking for a return to the 200 EMA. That's something I've noticed a lot. If we break support, a lot of times in a trending market, if we're trending up and then we break support, we lose our support, we pull right back to that 200 EMA. From there, I don't know if it's going to bounce or if it's going to drop further, but I do see that it tends to act a bit of a magnet to price action. There's some crazy price action going on right now, speaking of it. But that was kind of the idea behind the play. My stop loss was just above these two, so my stop loss was, I think, 4 points above. So like 90, not quite 96, somewhere up in here. And my first take profit, I moved it up a little bit. My first take profit was going to be at the very top of this little hump. The first sign of any sort of like structure on the 2-minute. I moved it up 1 point just to get filled. So that's something I can prove on, is just sticking to my plan and not moving my take profit. And then the other was just above the 200 EMA on my runners, which we came down and filled as well. So lessons I learned, I think risk to reward, I think the trade idea was great. It obviously worked out really well. So trade solid, I'll do it again. The only other thing is I probably should look to get a little bit more reward out of this trade. And what I mean by that is taking my first take profit closer to that 200 EMA. Like probably where I took my runners is where I should have taken my first take profit. And then leave runners after that as kind of a more risky gamble to see if we drop further due to us holding or hitting that 200 EMA. So if we break, you know, we did break and set a new low. You could have runners for that, but I would want to exit most of my position around this area, not knowing if we're going to bounce or not. But the point being is I could have probably nearly doubled my profits today had I just held a little bit longer and had a little bit bigger of a move on that first take profit. You never know, you know, it's hindsight's 20/20, as I like to say, with trading. you always look and say, well, I could have done better. No trade's going to be absolutely perfect. The entry and the risk on this was pretty perfect. I just, maybe missed out on some reward. So that's the type of imperfection I'd prefer to have. Is it was a good trade. I just I could have made more, and that's just a classic kind of hindsight behavior. But it is true, and I was expecting to move down to that 200 EMA. We got it. There's no reason that I don't capitalize more off of that, because it did do exactly as I was expecting. So if it is behaving as I would expect, then I should be able to capitalize more off of that, I guess is what I'm saying. I was definitely playing it safe with my first trim. Other than that, let's take a look at NQ, because I said that there might have been an even better setup on NQ. So NQ is relatively more weak. It was already below the previous day's low, and it had already broken and closed below that 200 EMA here. So we see us break down and lose all that support on the 2 minute, and then retest, can't reclaim it. And then we get a nice drop down to pre-market low. So I think this actually was probably even better of a setup, because it had more relative weakness. And it was already below some key levels. It was below that 200 EMA, where on ES, I was looking for the move down to the 200 EMA. But yeah, it's a decent trade overall. One and done type of day. I'll pull it up, 240 pretty much on the dot. We are just over 300 away from passing these, so hopefully this week. If not, next week. Not in a rush, just looking to do things and be disciplined. Do things right, be disciplined, and slowly make our way. All that matters is the payout. Doesn't really matter when. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. I do stream live Monday through Friday. I'll be here the rest of this week, streaming live and then posting these recaps on the trades I take, or if I didn't take a trade, kind of what I'm seeing in the market. And yeah, if you want to stop by for a live stream, please do. It's a lot of fun. Love to have you. Other than that, take it easy. Have a great day. Peace.